Okay. Hopefully the sound is fixed on this. Hopefully. Okay. So this is part two of The Darkest Night versus Superboy Prime. My rebuttal against my friend who claims Superboy Prime curb stomps The Darkest Night. Here we go. A person can receive additional fuel while simultaneously operating several enormous machines, fighting another cosmic being, controlling armies, and responding to an attack on the fuel source. That does not create a clean, fully rested matchup. The correct statement is that the Darkest Knight's exact condition was fluctuating because of the energy absorption, energy expenditure, combat, and the hero's interference. That uncertainty is precisely why the Prime confrontation cannot prove what happens against completely fresh Darkest Knight is an isolated fight. You cannot take a battle with external variables and pretend it answers a matchup in which those variables have been removed. Fighting Perpetua was not meaningless. You said the people the Darkest Knight fought before Prime were essentially flies and did not meaningfully affect him. You said that. Perpetua was not a fly. She was the creator figure behind the original multiverse, the mother of the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and War Folger, and one of the central cosmic threats of the entire storyline. The Darkest Knight did defeat her. However, defeating an extremely powerful opponent does not mean the battle required no energy or effort. More importantly, the Darkest Knight fight with Perpetua was not some irrelevant event from years earlier. It was part of the same immediate endgame. The comic presents the Darkest Knight and Perpetua continuing their fight before he traps her in fragments of the source wall and kills her. After that, he continues absorbing Crisis energy and deploys his forces while the wider final battle continues. Therefore, Prime was not meeting a version of the Darkest Knight who had done absolutely nothing beforehand. Whether the Darkest Knight became stronger overall after taking control of more Crisis energy in a separate question from whether he was fresh. He was not fresh. A powered-up character can still be actively engaged, dividing attention, using energy, and carrying the consequences of an ongoing cosmic war. The other heroes were not irrelevant merely because they could not individually overpower him. The hero's strategy was not simply for everyone to stand in a circle and punch the Darkest Knight's body. They attacked different components of his plan. They fought his armies, they fought the last 52 worlds, they attempted to destabilize Prime Earth, they attempted to cut him off from additional Crisis energy. They unlocked memories and anti-Crisis energy. They created the conditions necessary for Wonder Woman to oppose him. The fact that many heroes could not personally knock out the Darkest Knight does not make their contributions meaningless. Wars are not determined solely by who lands the final punch. If one group destroys an enemy reinforcements, another cuts off the enemy's fuel, another destroys the enemy's territory, another forces the enemy to divide his attention, another damages him, and a final combatant finishes him. The victory belongs to the combined effort. Prime delivered one of the most powerful individual contributions that still does not erase the larger operation. DC's official description for issue 6 says that heroes and villains work together as the entire DC universe stood against the Darkest Knight. The story itself does not portray everyone other than Prime as irrelevant flies. That is your interpretation, not the comic's conclusion. Wonder Woman fought the Dark Prime, but that hurts your argument. You are correct that Wonder Woman's final direct confrontation with the Darkest Knight occurred after Prime's major attack. I have no reason to deny that. However, that fact hurts your claim rather than help it. If Prime had already conclusively defeated the Darkest Knight, there would have been no opponent left for Wonder Woman to defeat. Darkest Knight survived Prime's attack and continued into the actual final confrontation. Golden Wonder Woman fought him across time and reality before driving him into the sun at the end of time. That was the finishing victory DC directly refers to Wonder Woman's victory over the Darkest Knight. Therefore, saying that Wonder Woman fought him afterwards does not prove Prime won. It proves Prime did not finish him. Prime weakened his position, damaged his creations, and contributed to the opening Wonder Woman needed. That is still heroic and impressive. It is not the same as defeating him alone. Wonder Woman and Crypto not did not rescue Prime because Prime was losing a fistfight. There are two different moments being blended together. During the earlier Crisis World sequence in Death Metal issue 4, Wonder Woman convinced Superboy Prime to reconsider how he was going to use the Crisis energy. Prime then shattered the Dark Crisis worlds, freed Superman and Batman, and redirected energy towards Wally West. That plan still failed because the Darkest Knight had manipulated the Mobius chair so the power would be redirected to him. Later, during Prime's major confrontation with the Darkest Knight in Secret Origin, the Darkest Knight tempted Prime with the possibility of restoring the world and life he wanted. Crypto served as an emotional reminder of the goodness and acceptance Prime had experienced. Those scenes deal with Prime's moral decision, not proof that Prime and the Darkest Knight were equally in every statistic. Prime being tempted does not prove that he was about to physically lose. Prime rejecting the offer does not prove that he was physically superior. It proves that the Darkest Knight attempted to manipulate him and that Prime ultimately chose heroism. The Darkest Knight attempting to recruit Prime does not establish equal power. You argue the Darkest Knight wanted Prime to join him because neither could defeat the other. Even when a villain says something suggesting cooperation, that statement must be interpreted within the context of the scene. The Darkest Knight was trying to manipulate Prime